December 21st, 1943, 9:45 in the morning, Ladd Field, Alaska. A B-24 Liberator designated Iceberg Inez lifts off into a gray sky for what was supposed to be a routine cold weather test. 5 men are aboard. The mission is simple: climb to altitude, shut down one engine, prove the bomber can hold stable flight in extreme cold. They are flying mathematics that will decide whether this machine gets trusted with war. Leon Crane is the co-pilot. He is 24 years old, from Philadelphia, and in Alaska barely 2 months. His entire lifetime camping resume is one night with a scout troop at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. At 11 or 8 in the morning, the crew transmits its last radio fix somewhere near Big Delta, roughly 100 miles southeast of Fairbanks. After that, Iceberg Inez becomes a speck dissolving into cloud and cold, and nobody on the ground hears from it again. At altitude, the temperature outside the fuselage drops past -30. The crew climbs above 20,000 feet, hunting a clear patch for the test run. Then one engine quits. Then the aircraft begins to spin. Inside the cockpit, instruments lie or go blank. The bomber becomes a 15-ton coin, tumbling end over end. Centrifugal force pins men to walls and ceiling. The sick drop of an elevator that loses its cable stretches across minutes on fire. The pilot orders the crew to abandon ship. Crane fights toward the open bomb bay against crushing force. He has never jumped from an aircraft. He jumps anyway, because inside the plane is no longer an option. Outside, the air is at least 30 below. In the rush, he forgets his mittens. That detail, small, stupid, human, will nearly kill him over and over for the next 12 weeks. He floats down into endless wilderness and lands thigh-deep in snow, watching Iceberg Inez burn on a ridge. Smoke rises in a dark column. He spins in place, scanning tree lines for movement. He thinks he saw another parachute open, maybe Crew Chief Richard Pompeo drifting a mile east, but a mile in this terrain might as well be an ocean. He yells into the silence. The silence sends it back. Somewhere in the white, 4 other men are either dying or already dead. Search teams will later find the wreckage, but not a single survivor besides Crane. He does not know that yet. He just knows no one answers. He takes inventory: a pocket knife, about 40 matches, a silk parachute, 28 feet across, a letter from his father, warm clothing, a down jacket, felt-lined mucklucks, but no food, no gun, no sleeping bag, no map, no compass. Night in interior Alaska in December arrives before 4 in the afternoon and lasts 17 hours. The temperature is already dropping. Crane spots a frozen river below his position and stumbles toward it, because water means driftwood, and driftwood means fire. Fire is not an idea. Fire is chemistry, friction, oxygen, and hands that work. Crane's hands are bare, numb, cracking between the fingers. He tries to light a match, fails, tries again, fails again. His fingers cannot grip, cannot strike, cannot close around the matchstick without shaking it apart. So he pulls out the letter from his father and tears it into strips. He feeds the paper to the match head and the flame catches, a tiny ragged miracle. He nurses it into a fire, wraps himself in the parachute like a silkworm, and lies down in the snow. Every 2 hours, the cold jolts him awake and he feeds the fire again. The search planes have almost nothing to work with. The last radio fix puts Iceberg Inez somewhere above Big Delta, but the aircraft wandered far off course before it went down. The search area balloons across tens of thousands of square miles of mountain and forest. Crane does not know this. He just knows the next morning comes and nobody is there. Days pass like a metronome of rejection. He stays near the river because movement in deep snow without food is fantasy. The river gives him water, driftwood, and a line to follow. He builds an SOS from spruce branches. The wind buries it repeatedly. He keeps the fire alive for 8 days, 2 hours of sleep at a time. Hunger stops being a feeling and becomes a personality trait. He drinks water, chews moss, swallows vegetation, spits most of it back. Above him, red squirrels hop through spruce. A squirrel is 200 calories, another day alive. He improvises weapons: a club, a fire-hardened spear, a bow strung with parachute cord, and a slingshot. Days pass. No planes, no voices, but the math creeps in. The last radio call was far from here. He is not where searchers are looking. The wreckage burned miles from here. His dot on their map does not exist. Every day the search area expands outward from the wrong coordinates, and every day he becomes more invisible. Day 10, he accepts that no one is coming, so he walks down river because rivers lead to people. Right around the next bend, he repeats it like a metronome. Every bend is a promise. Every bend is a lie. He grows weaker fast, waist-deep snow on an empty stomach. His hands are raw, face windburned. His thoughts shrink to fire, water, and the next step. Then he sees straight lines, a cabin, 9 by 10 feet, earth floor, spruce bunk. The door is wood and real. Inside are matches, firewood, sugar, cocoa, powdered milk, raisins, a cast iron stove, and mittens on the bunk like a gift. In Alaska's backcountry code, cabins are left open for anyone who needs them. Phil Burrell, a veteran trapper, built this one. He has no idea a co-pilot from Philadelphia is betting everything on his generosity. Crane lights the stove, brews cocoa. 2 sips and he feels full. His hands wrap around the tin mug, feeling warmth for the first time in 10 days. His life feels like it might continue. But the cabin is not the ending. Now he has something to lose. He eats. He sleeps. The next morning, confidence arrives. Cabin means people. He loads his pockets with raisins and walks down river expecting buildings. No town. Night falls. He drifts off course, stumbling into boulders. His shaking hands cannot light a match. He keeps walking because movement is all he has. A voice in his head says he is finished. Another answers. Left foot, right foot. He reverses course, fights back to the cabin, collapses through the door. He sleeps for 3 days. He explores the cache of beans, rice, flour, eggs, vegetables, beef, a .22 rifle, snowshoes, candles, tea, tobacco. Enough for a while, not forever. The cabin saves him. It can also kill him. Staying too long makes leaving impossible. So he becomes bored on purpose. He eats twice daily, sleeps 18 hours, chops through 4 feet of ice for water, coats his cracked hands in candle wax, talks to himself just to hear a voice. 6 weeks have passed. Outside, -40. Inside, the food shrinks. He considers waiting for spring, building a raft, but the food will not last until May. The numbers do not lie. If he stays, he starves. If he leaves too early, he freezes. The window is narrow and getting narrower. He makes a plan. He will leave in mid-February, after the worst of the cold has passed, but before the food runs out. He will travel light, carry only what he can haul, and follow the river because the river is the only map he has. He spends days preparing. He dismantles a galvanized wash tub and boards from the cache, lashing them into a crude sled. He sews a harness from parachute cloth and shroud lines. He selects his supplies carefully. On February 11th, he allows himself a full meal, not a feast, but more than his usual ration. He sleeps as much as his body will allow. February 12th arrives clear and cold. He straps into the harness, clips into the sled, and steps outside. The door closes behind him with a sound that feels final. The cabin has been his life for 6 weeks. Now it is just a building he is leaving behind. He faces downriver and starts walking. The sled drags behind him like an anchor. His breath comes out in clouds. Progress is measured in yards. On a good day, he might cover 2 miles. On a bad day, half a mile feels like victory. His leg muscles burn with a constant ache that never fades. Sleep does not eliminate it. Some days, Willywaw whines come screaming up the river hard enough to stop him in his tracks, and he leans into the gust like a man trying to out-argue weather. A few days in, he finds a stretch of open water, a lead on a branch of the river. He tries to cross on exposed stones. He slips. Ice water to his armpits, clothes freezing into rigid armor the instant he hauls himself out. His body becomes a science experiment. How fast can a human turn into a statue? His matches are dry. He builds a fire with hands shaking so hard the first 3 strikes miss. Steam pours off him like his body is trying to evaporate before it freezes. He spends the entire day drying each garment 1 piece at a time, rotating them over the flames, because rushing means scorching the only clothes between him and death. He abandons the sled when it becomes too heavy, too clumsy, too eager to drag him under again. He sews a backpack from cabin scraps and strips his load to essentials. After roughly 2 weeks, he finds another cabin, open, stocked with cornmeal, canned vegetables, and a little meat. He stays about a week, not for comfort, but for repair, because his body is a machine that needs maintenance, and he is both the mechanic and the broken engine. Then he moves again. 7 days, 8 days. He rounds a bend at dusk and sees something that makes his solitude wobble. Cut spruce tops in 2 parallel rows, planted in the river snow, a bush landing strip marker, a sign that humans exist in this country after all. He camps. He follows a toboggan trail the next day, and now, after 80 days out of the sky, he sees smoke. Real smoke, not a memory. A cabin, occupied. Crane approaches the cabin like a mirage. He needs to be real. He is filthy, sunburned, windburned, beard wild, hair matted. He will later describe himself as some strange species of prehistoric man. Trapper Albert Ames opens the door, wife and children behind him staring at a man who walked out of a grave. Crane identifies himself as a lieutenant who has been in a little trouble, just relief with a rank attached. Food appears, warmth, silence that does not scream. Ames's wife brings him soup and he holds the bowl with both hands, feeling the heat seep into his palms. The children stare at him like he is a ghost made solid. By Ames's reckoning, Crane has walked roughly 120 miles. That number should not exist for a man with no training, no map, no experience. 2 days later, Ames harnesses a dog team. They must go to Woodchopper, where Phil Burrell lives, the trapper who built that first cabin. Crane tries to put gratitude into words. Burrell says he is pleased the cabin was useful. The word hangs in the air like understatement made flesh. In Alaska, you build cabins for strangers, because someday you might be the stranger. The code does not require speeches. It requires action, and Crane is the proof it works. A bush plane carries Crane back toward men who already filed him under dead. March 14th, 1944. A pilot radios he is bringing in Lieutenant Crane. The base asks if it is alive or remains. The answer is very much alive. Crane steps out in the same flight suit from 84 days earlier, black with soot, torn at every seam, boots wrapped in parachute cloth, face a mask of windburn. The thing keeping him alive was never a hidden stash or a secret skill. It was pace, rationing, stubborn discipline applied one meal, one fire, one footstep at a time. No heroics, no secret reserves of strength, just a man who refused to lie down when his body begged him to. At the cafeteria, half the post crowds around to stare. Before anyone examines him, before any report, he orders a milkshake, not strategy, the shape of a promise he held since Christmas, stuffing snow into his mouth and pretending. The milkshake is cold and sweet, and exactly what he imagined on Christmas night when he was stuffing snow into his mouth and pretending. It tastes like the future tense, like proof that promises kept in your head during the worst moments can become real if you just keep walking. He drinks it slowly, and for the first time in 84 days, he does not have to ration anything. Knowledge does not save Leon Crane. Training does not save him. The core engine is smaller, and the refusal to accept the story ends here. One foot, then the other, right around that curve. A milkshake that does not exist yet, held by a man who will not let the wilderness write his last page. Leon Crane lives a full life after Alaska. No wilderness prophet, no tours selling grit. He goes home to Philadelphia and keeps the story to himself. The wilderness did not transform him. It revealed something already inside him, a limit you have not met, a part that when the math says you are done, says quietly, not yet. If a city kid with 40 matches can outlast an Alaskan winter, your hardest day might be lying about what is possible. The question is what you do when your own ice breaks. If you think Crane's survival was extreme, wait until you hear about the man who pulled off his boot in Antarctica, and his entire foot came with it. Douglas Mawson's story, where his body literally disintegrated while the food keeping him alive was poisoning him, is covered here. The question is what you do when your own ice breaks.